An assassin waits in the shadows. At 6:45 a.m., December 4th, 2024, a shot rings out. Within moments, a prominent figure lies dead in cold blood. This was no random act of violence. It was a calculated execution. This is a mysterious death of Brian Thompson, a man whose life, power, and enemies would spark one of the most controversial investigations in recent memory. Stay with us. By the end, you may question everything you thought you knew. Brian Robert Thompson was born July 10, 1974, and by the time of his death, he was a powerhouse in the American healthcare industry. He wasn't a street investigator or a detective. His investigations were corporate, legal, strategic. He served as CEO of UnitedHealthcare, one of the giants in the U.S. insurance sector. Over his decades-long career, Thompson navigated mergers, regulatory battles, policy lobbying, and internal probes, often walking a tightrope between public scrutiny and private influence. His reputation? Stern yet private. A man who didn't court the limelight, but whose decisions impacted millions. Some saw him as a gatekeeper of life or death benefits. Others, a symbol of a system stacked against the powerless. As he rose, so did pressure from regulators, consumer activists, and litigants denied coverage. What followed was a path fraught with threats, internal strife, and suspicion. And in the end, his death would raise more questions than it answered. Behind the polished image lay a world of investigations, internal audits, whistleblower claims, regulatory enforcement actions. For Thompson, every deal, policy shift, or denied claim carried risk, legal, reputational, even physical. But until December 2024, no one ever suspected it might cost him his life. To understand motive, we must understand the battles Thompson waged. Among the many internal and external investigations tied to him and his company. Insider trading/stock sales inquiry. In early 2024, the U.S. Department of Justice launched inquiries into possible monopolistic practices within the healthcare and insurance sector. Thompson, along with other executives, sold significant stock holdings before key public disclosures. That raised red flags. Critics argued, did he act on inside information? Was there a cover-up? Denial claims and whistleblower complaints. UnitedHealthcare faced repeated accusations from patients and advocacy groups. Unjust denials of essential coverage, obscure appeals processes, inflated rejection metrics. Whistleblowers alleged internal suppression of claims, lack of transparency, and pressure to minimize payouts regardless of patients' need. Regulatory and congressional pressure. Senators and health committees repeatedly challenged UnitedHealthcare's practices. Thompson was summoned to testify, defending denial rates, claim processing algorithms, and the fairness of internal audits, internal security, and threat investigations. In the months leading up to his death, security logs revealed threats to high-level executives. Some calls were taken seriously, others dismissed as noise. Private investigators reportedly flagged growing animosity among disgruntled clients, litigants, and advocacy groups. Each of these threads fed into a complex web of adversaries. Individuals, institutions, even public opinion. Anyone could harbor a motive. But which thread unraveled into murder? That's where the timeline becomes deadly. Let's trace the final 30 days before Thompson's death. Late October, early November 2024. Security logs note an uptick in threatening communications to senior UnitedHealthcare offices. Some trace to former claimants, others unidentified. Thompson is reported to have increased personal security, though he declined a full detail. November 20th, 2024. Thompson travels to New York, preparing for an investor conference. His agenda and hotel detail become public. November 25th. Surveillance registers unknown individuals around Thompson's accommodations. Hotel staff report a masked figure loitering near his entrance, dismissed by security as a vagrant. November 30th. A suspect checks into a hostel under a fake identity. Surveillance later suggests this individual moved with precision, casing entrances and cross-checking Thompson's schedule. December 3rd, evening. Thompson dines at a hotel event. He departs earlier than scheduled, citing fatigue. Staff note he was alone, unaccompanied by visible security detail. Early December 4th, 2024, the day of the murder, 6:30 a.m. Thompson leaves his hotel for the conference venue. 6:44 a.m., a masked gunman approaches from behind. Thompson is shot multiple times, one round in the calf, others at point-blank range to his back. 6:45 a.m., he collapses at the entrance of the New York Hilton Midtown. The shooter flees on an e-bike, disappearing into the early morning fog. Police and first responders arrive within minutes, but the suspect is already gone. What seemed like a routine business day became a crime scene in seconds. The question, was it opportunistic or premeditated? Investigators uncovered chilling details at the scene. Shell casings and inscribed messages. Live rounds and spent casings bore cryptic words and permanent marker: delay, deny, depose. Many believe this was a message. Symbolic grievances directed at Thompson's role in claim denials, bullet trajectory, and wounds. Autopsy and ballistic reports show multiple high-velocity shots to Thompson's back and one to his leg. The back wound suggests he was caught unaware, likely before any verbal exchange. Weapon and suppressor. Forensic analysis confirmed use of suppressed 9x19mm pistol, a ghost gun resembling a modified Glock 19. The silencer implies planning, not impulsivity. Exit strategy. The assassin fled via e-bike, navigating tight alleys, abandoning the bike later near Central Park. Surveillance captured fragmented images, a masked figure moving swiftly, discarding items along the route. Recovered evidence. Police later recovered backpack in Central Park suspected to belong to the shooter, fingerprints on a water bottle, and surveillance footage from nearby Starbucks, subway stations, and hotel lobbies. Investigators also retrieved a note, a rough manifesto, expressing animosity toward corporate America and healthcare practices. Each fragment hinted at calculation. The killer's presence was invisible until the shot rang out. In the hours and days after the murder, police collected dozens of statements. Some were helpful, others conflicting. Hotel staff/doormen. Some reported seeing a masked figure loiter near the entrance minutes before the shooting. Others say they received strange calls earlier that morning directing them to open doors. One doorman, under oath, claimed a man had asked when Mr. Thompson would leave, but was dismissed as hotel traffic. Conference attendees/colleagues. Some guests remembered Thompson canceling breakfast meetings, arriving late, or acting unusually preoccupied. A colleague claimed he received a text, "Are you safe?" but never clarified. Nearby witnesses. A jogger near the alley reported seeing someone toss a small bag and run east after hearing a shot. Another passerby recalled a masked man on a bike speeding through Ziegfeld alleyways seconds later. Informants and tips. Hundreds of tips flooded in nationally. Several claimed to identify the suspect from hostile images. Others claimed knowledge of a plot. Some tips were credible leads. Others were hoaxes or misidentifications. Despite the volume of testimony, no one saw the full picture. The assassin remained a phantom in the morning light. When a high-profile figure dies under suspicious circumstances, conspiracy theories abound. The Thompson case is no exception. Healthcare vigilante theory. Some suggest the shooter was an enraged former patient denied coverage, taking justice into his own hands. The inscriptions deny and depose fuel this theory. Corporate rival/inside hit. Others posit someone within the industry, a rival insurer, a disgruntled executive, orchestrated the hit to eliminate competition or to send a message, whistleblower revenge. Some believe Thompson silenced someone threatening to expose internal wrongdoing. The assassin was a hired cleaner, eliminating the threat permanently. Political/ideological blowback. Given his influence over healthcare policy, motive could be ideological, a radical seeking to strike at healthcare corruption more broadly. Frame and redirection. A darker theory. The manifest inscriptions were planted to mislead. The true assassin may have attempted to pin the blame on patient activists or marginalized individuals. While some theories stretch credulity, the opacity of evidence invites speculation, and speculation, for many, is more compelling than truth. After months of investigation, law enforcement unveiled key findings and glaring gaps. What police concluded: the shooting was premeditated, targeted, and symbolic. Nothing about the timing or method appears random. The inscriptions deny, delay, depose, likely referenced Thompson's role in health insurance denials. The weapon, suppressor, and e-bike all point to a carefully planned operation. The suspect's movement suggests he was in New York at least 10 days prior, likely preparing, surveilling, and setting up an escape route as the suspect was arrested. Luigi Mangione. According to multiple sources, Mangione's backpack, weapon, suppressor, fake ID, and firearm evidence matched what was used in the crime. He was arrested in early December after identification by a McDonald's customer in Pennsylvania. He is facing charges in New York, Pennsylvania, and federal counts including first-degree murder, weapons offenses, and terrorism. The case, spanning multiple jurisdictions, in his possession was a manifesto expressing ill toward corporate America and direct criticisms of the U.S. healthcare system. His trial is scheduled to begin in 2025. What remains unresolved/contested? How Mangione obtained the suppressor and ghost gun modifications, whether there were co-conspirators or financiers, whether Thompson was ever directly threatened in legal filings or communications tied to Mangione, the exact relationship, if any, between Mangione's personal grievances and Thompson's corporate decisions, whether all evidence was properly preserved and analyzed. Skeptics point to forensic gaps, lost video frames, and ambiguous fingerprints. In short, law enforcement has a suspect in the basic narrative, but the story is far from closed. Behind the headlines, Brian Thompson was a husband, father, son, brother. His death left deep wounds. Family. His wife and 2 children lost a husband and father. His mother and brother mourned a son, and sibling whose work defined much of his life. In public statements, family members called him a quiet man of integrity, deeply committed to his children's future. Colleagues and staff, for those who worked under him, the shock was profound. Many recalled Thompson's exacting standards, his long hours, and occasional abrupt decisions, but also a moment of mentorship and human connection. In internal emails and meetings, some employees expressed fear and uncertainty about their roles, potential backlash, and company reputation. The board convened urgently. Senior leadership scrambled to maintain continuity and reassure stakeholders. Corporate fallout. UnitedHealthcare publicly mourned, pledging a full cooperation with investigations. Meanwhile, they faced pressure to fill the vacated roles swiftly. A new CEO would now have to carry the heavy weight of this legacy tragedy. The human stories, though quieter, underscore that this was not just a crime. It was a rupture in the lives of many. The public reaction to Thompson's murder was as varied as it was polarized. Media framing. Some outlets portrayed him as a ruthless executive, others as a visionary leader. Headlines range from healthcare titan slain to victim or villain. The inscriptions on the casings fuel coverage on systemic injustice and insurance ethics. Social media and public sentiment. Many users use the tragedy to vent long-standing frustrations with the healthcare system. Denied claims, surprise bills, bureaucratic nightmares. Posts with laughing emojis, snide commentary, or outright celebration appeared. Notably, a United Health Group memorial post reportedly received tens of thousands of reactions, many mocking or derisive. Some online communities even glorified the assassin, turning Mangione into a controversial folk figure. Political and policy ramifications. Legislators seized the moment to call for healthcare reform, stricter oversight, and accountability for insurers. Opponents accuse corporate lobbyists of contributing to a toxic environment that pits patients versus profit. Cultural and ethical debate. Was this a vigilante act or cold-blooded assassination? Should the public mourn a man whose decisions harmed some but helped others? The discourse became a mirror, reflecting national tension over healthcare, capitalism, and justice. In the public square, Thompson's murder became more than a crime. It became argument, grievance, and moral flashpoint. Which motive, or combination of motives, led to Thompson's death? Let's analyze the top contenders. Pros: the inscriptions deny, delay, are direct references to claim processing. Many individuals felt harmed by benefit denials. This narrative gives a human motive. Anger turned lethal. Cons: the sophistication and planning go beyond alone enraged claimant. And there is no definitive link between Mangione and a denied case. Pros: removing Thompson could shift power, expose secrets, or restructure market control. Insiders may have had access, means, or motives. Cons: Planning such a narrative would be messy. The inscriptions may be too overt. No proven tie has emerged between Mangione and corporate actors. Pros. Mangione's manifesto reportedly criticized corporate America and healthcare. This positions a murder as a symbolic act, not a personal vendetta. Cons. Very few individuals act violently on ideology alone. There must be personal history or enabling factors. The most plausible, a combination. Mangione may have carried personal grievances, ideological frustration, and logistical resources to act. The inscriptions may be partly symbolic and partly message-driven, intended to narrate motive publicly. Perhaps the inscriptions are red herrings. The actual motive might be something else entirely. Personal betrayal, blackmail, exposure of internal secrets. The killer may have wanted those inscriptions found to misdirect investigators. In sum, we may never know the full motive. What is clear is that the act was deliberate, symbolic, and meant to send a message. The question, to whom? Brian Thompson's death was more than a murder. It was a singular collision of power, policy, anger, and mystery. We know a highly planned assassination, inscriptions as symbolic indictments, and a suspect with manifesto in hand. Yet so much remains in shadow. The true motive, possible accomplices, the decision-makers behind the scene, and whether justice will truly prevail. Questions still unanswered. Did Mangione act alone, or was there a broader conspiracy? Are there forces higher than him who orchestrated or inspired the act? Was Thompson ever warned directly or threatened silently in internal channels? Will new evidence, whistleblowers, or witness revelations emerge to rewrite the narrative? In the end, who decided Thompson's fate and why? As the trial proceeds and new testimony enters the public record, the world will watch. This case will be cited in debates over corporate accountability, corporate violence, and the fragile line between public service and public danger. If you followed the story to the end, thank you. If you found this video compelling, please like, share, and subscribe for more investigations like this. Let me know in the comments, which motive do you believe? And do you think we'll ever know the whole truth?